Good afternoon, boys and girls. We are going to be doing 6th grade Engage New York, Module 2, Lesson 9. You need to have the classwork in front of you. So the first problem on the classwork, example number 1, is 25 3/10 plus 376 77 hundredths. Now, there's two ways that we can do this. We could get a common denominator and add up the fractions. But what we're going to work on today is changing our fractions into decimal form and then adding and subtracting the decimals. So, at this time, go ahead and write 25 3/10 as a decimal. We know we have 25 wholes, and the 3 is in the tens place. This is the tens place, so 25 3/10 plus, we have our whole number, 376, and now we have 77 hundredths. Well, this is the tens place, and that's the hundredths, so we need 77 in the hundredths place. Now that we've written both numbers into decimal form, we can line up our decimal points and add as usual. So we'll do it right here, 25 3/10. Our decimal points have to be lined up so we can stand them up, line them up, add them up. 7 plus nothing, you could put a 0 to fill those in. It does not change the value. 7 plus 0 is 7. 7 plus 3, 10, carry your 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 5, 12. 1 plus 7 is 8, 9, 10, carry your 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, decimal point comes straight down. So you should have gotten 402 7 hundredths. Now when we move on to example number 2, this is subtracting two fractions. And when you look at those fractions, we have 426 1/5 minus 275 1/2. These numbers, we don't have a common denominator, so that would be difficult to subtract. But also, these numbers are not powers of 10. Whenever we have powers of 10 as our denominator, it's easy just to plug those into fraction form. For 5 and 2, that's not the case. So, we're going to have to take 1 divided by 5 to figure out what fraction this is going to be. If you have 1, you can make 0 groups of 5. 0 times 5 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Check, is 1 less than 5? Yes. We're going to annex zeros so that we can have a decimal place. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So 1/5 is the same as 2/10. So now I can write 426 2/10. Now we need to change 1/2 into decimal form. Remember, this fraction line can sometimes mean divide. So when we're changing from a fraction into a decimal, we need to divide. So 1 divided by 2. If you have 1, how many groups of 2 can you make? 0. 0 times 2, 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Check, is 1 less than 2? Yes. We're going to annex our 0 here. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. So now, 1/2 is the same as 5/10. So keep my whole number the same and 5/10. Okay, so when we're subtracting with decimals, we just need to line up our decimal place and subtract. 2 minus 5, we need to borrow. 12 minus 5 is 7. 5 minus 5, 0. 2 minus 7, we need to borrow. 12 minus 7 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. Don't forget your decimal point comes straight down. So the answer is 150 and 7/10. Okay, let's turn the page and look at the exercises. Calculate each sum or difference. Sum and difference are vocabulary words. They should be familiar to you. On your paper, write what does sum mean and what does difference mean. Push pause until you have the definition of sum and difference on your paper. Okay, you can unpause now. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. So if you're finding the sum, you need to add. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So if you're finding the difference, you subtract. So calculate the sum or difference. That means you need to read these word problems, decide you need to add or subtract to find the answer. Number 1, Samantha and her friends are going on a road trip that is 245 and 7/50 miles long. They have already driven 128 and 53/100. How much farther do they have to drive? I want you to write an addition or subtraction problem. So right now, write down the equation. Do you need to add or subtract to find this answer? Push pause until you have your equation. Okay, the total distance that they're driving is 245 and 7/50. So this is the total that they're driving, and then they tell us one part. They tell us the part that they've already driven. They've already driven 128 miles, 128 and 53/100. They're asking us to find the other part. Since we already know the total, we need to subtract to find the other part. How much farther do they have to drive? Now, let's look at our denominator here. It's 50. Is that a power of 10? Is there a decimal place of 50ths? The answer is no. So we need to divide to find how to write 7/50 as a decimal. So you're going to do 7 divided by 50. If you have 7, how many groups of 50 can you make? 0. 0 times 50 is 0. 7 minus 0 is 7. Check. Is 7 less than 50? Yes. So now we need to annex zeros. We've got to put our decimal point there to annex zeros, which is what we wanted. We're trying to turn this into a decimal. If you have 70, how many groups of 50 can you make? The answer is 1. 1 times 50 is 50. You have 20. Check. Is 20 less than 50? Yes. Okay, so we still have 20 left over. We need to annex another 0. If you have 200, how many groups of 50 can you make? You can count by 50s. 50, 100, 150, 200. So you can make 4 groups. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, so 7/50 is the same as 1400ths. So I'm just going to rewrite this number in decimal form. Now we need to move over. We have 53/100ths. Is 100 a power of 10? Is there a decimal place of hundredths? Yes. So we just need to write this with 53 in the hundredths place. Tenths, hundredths, so 53/100ths. Now that we have both numbers written in decimal form, we can subtract 245 and 1400ths minus 128, 53. Now when we're adding and subtracting decimals, it's business as usual, and then your decimal point comes straight down. You have to have them lined up. 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 minus 5, we need to borrow. 11 minus 5 is 6. 4 minus 8, we need to borrow. 14 minus 8 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. My decimal point comes straight down. So now I have finished my math. The question says, how much farther do they have to drive? Write a sentence to answer that question. Push pause until you're ready for number 2. Okay, question number 2. Ben needs to replace 2 sides of his fence. One side is 367 and 9/100 meters long. And the other side is 329 meters, 329 and 3/10 meters long. How much fence does Ben need to buy? So write an equation, either an addition equation or a subtraction equation, to figure out how to find this answer. Push pause until you have your equation. Okay, in this problem, they've given us 2 parts. They've given us the measurement of one side of fence and the measurement of the other. They're asking us to find the total. So you need to have an addition equation to solve this problem. Okay, we need to change these into decimal places, into decimals, instead of mixed numbers. Look at our denominators. They are powers of 10. So this will be very easy. We have 367 and 9/100. Don't make a simple mistake here. This is the 10ths place. This is 9/100. The 9 needs to go in the hundredths place. So we need a placeholder 0 here to keep 9/100. Plus 329 and 3/10. This is the 10ths place. We have 3/10. You put your 3 in the 10ths place. Now you can line up your decimal places and add business as usual. Don't forget to make a sentence to answer the question. Work with your shoulder partner to solve number 3. 4 and 5. Turn these into the tray when you're finished. Don't forget to write a sentence to answer each question.